Guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 13 DraftKings Showdown. Fantastic game between the Seahawks and the Cowboys coming up on Thursday Night Football. I'm going to go through, talk about who I think are the most optimal captains on the slate. We'll give you a few players that are a little bit off the beaten path, much cheaper players to use in flex that project, in my opinion, to be under 25% owned at max, around that range, that might be able to give you an edge on your competition. We'll build a pick'em card over at Underdog Fantasy, as well as go over and build 150 lineups over at Fantasy Labs. That's what we do every week on this video, and I appreciate you guys being here. If you were interested in joining our VIP Discord, you can go to smizzle.tv/Discord. Tons of channels for you to discuss with. Like, there's over like almost 11,000 people in the Discord at this point. If you are a subscriber, you can subscribe right in the Discord at smizzle.tv/Discord, or you can become a channel member here on YouTube at smizzle.tv/join, or if you're watching on desktop, you can click the join button right below the screen. Very easy to find. You get access to all the VIP rooms in Discord to talk about whatever slate you're playing, PGA, college football, NBA, whatever, with other like-minded individuals in our community group there to help you get better every single day, as well as access to my personal NFL cheat sheet that comes out every single Friday afternoon. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
The Week 13 Smiz Gang Listener League is posted. It's $10, 3 max, $40,000 in the prize pool. Absolutely no rake. The best tournament that exists on DraftKings, but it doesn't exist in the DraftKings lobby. You have to go to the link tree, smizzle.tv/links. If you wanted to get in, make sure that you visit there. And while you're there, every link is free to click. So just click all the links in the link tree, as well as Listener League. Follow me on Instagram, on TikTok, join the Discord, follow or subscribe to the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel, where every single Monday there's a recap video. Here's the Week 12 recap. I had a good week. You can take a look at my cash game lineup, my 150 lineups in the Millionaire Maker, and everything else. So go to the link tree, join the Listener League, and let's go over the possible captains for this slate. As we said, the prize pools go down as the season goes along. 500K to first, and the big one, if you play the mini max or the smaller games. There's single entry or cash games. You might have a different strategy, but I tend to build for mass multi-entry on these slates. Let's start with the quarterbacks. I typically will limit to like 5% max of either quarterback in captain, because quarterback is typically overweighted by the field. So like, I think we might see like 15 or 20% Dak Prescott in captain. He's performed exceptionally well, right? Like, these would have been great captain showdown games. 30 points, 31 points, 41 points, 35 points. So like, he's definitely gotten there. More recently, 4 of the last 5 weeks would have been possibly optimal captain for him. So like, I may bump him up. He's reaching that kind of unicorn status with as efficient as he's been in the passing game, exceeding the 300-yard bonus so many times this year, putting up an MVP caliber season. If you drafted him in best ball, congratulations to you, because him and the other Cowboys did not get injured, so you're probably making the playoff rounds. And if you correlated for week 17 in best ball, the Lions didn't get injured either, and so you're live all the way through the playoffs if you built that late first round Cowboys Lions stack. But I digress. Dak Prescott for this game. Seattle is definitely an attackable team for us with opposing offenses, specifically opposing passing games, definitely with opposing running backs, and Dak Prescott has done a fantastic job, as I've already stated. If you're going to use him in captain, you're going to want to build a group where you use at least 2 of his pass catchers. That's going to include Brandon Cooks, Ferg. We're going to include the kicker in that group because it does correlate better than people believe. If Dak Prescott has a 30-something point day, their kicker is also having a very viable day, right? We've seen him attack 10 points. Every single point matters in Showdown, and correlation definitely matters in Showdown. I'm not going to include Tony Pollard in that group, although he has been more involved recently in the passing game, not exceeding 15%. I'm not going to build a rule that says he can't be in a lineup with Dak Prescott at captain. I'm just not going to force him into that lineup. Tolbert, Turpin, we'll talk about him later. The rookie Schoonmaker, all those sorts of guys would go into that Dak Prescott group at captain. On the other side of the field, Geno Smith is apparently turning back into a pumpkin this year, which is unfortunate because I love the comeback story. Americans, we love comeback stories, right? So like, he was written off for like 8 years, and You know, he came back last year, but just has not looked anywhere close to the same this year. And they did a lot to improve the offensive pieces around him. So like last year looking like more of an anomaly with each passing week. At least he is still being somewhat efficient, throwing for 66, 64, 66, ignore the game against Baltimore, 62, 75% completion rate, completing over 20 passes, 30 passes, 20 passes, 27 passes. So we have the ability for him to have big days, although I don't think he is going to be, he doesn't profile to be somebody who is going to be the optimal captain, at least not as much as the field's going to play him. So I feel like we're putting ourselves behind the 8 ball if we match the field on Geno at captain. So Geno Smith at captain, we're going to build that same sort of group, right? We're going to include DK Metcalf. We do have an injury to Ken Walker III, okay? They don't expect him to be back for a couple of weeks, which opens up Zach Charbonnet, who does see an awful lot of targets, has seen a massive jump in terms of his snap rate, where like he went from playing like 45 to 50% of the offensive snaps to now playing like 90+% of the offensive snaps. He hasn't done much with it, however, but anybody that's playing that much and is 5 targets the last, on average, the last 3 games, including the game where he was still on half duty. Now he's full duty. Kind of been that for 2 weeks, unfortunately. Sorry for the pun. But like, we're going to get this much usage from him in the passing game. If you want to include him in your Geno group, I'm kind of okay with it. We'll definitely include Lockett, JSN, Myers, the kicker, and every other passer, you know, Fant, Bobo, Disley. Well, if Disley doesn't play, Parkinson for sure. Probably not going to include DJ Dallas. He's only playing like 10 snaps per game right now. The other most viable captains that are non-quarterbacks. CeeDee Lamb is basically the primary guy. CeeDee Lamb essentially the primary guy. We've seen him post ridiculous days. Now, we talked about how Dak had great days in weeks 8, 9, 10, all these games where he had, but like, he would have been a good captain. But the days that he has those 30-point days, more often than not, except for the game against Washington on Thanksgiving, CD has been the guy. He has been fantastic this year and has access to a higher ceiling more often than Dak Prescott. So he, in my opinion, is the number 1 captain play on the week. He will carry probably the most percentage of people with him. If you're going to play him at captain, you should tie Dak Prescott to it, because if he has a massive day, Dak probably also had a massive day. Seattle does have a very good rookie cornerback with, but like, it's not going to, they move CD around enough that it's not going to be a shadow situation. They move him left, right, into the slot. They set him in motion to take advantage of man and zone situation. Like, they do such a good job of moving him around. On Dallas, the only other captain, in my opinion, that is going to exceed optimal would be Tony Pollard. So because of the matchup, and I know that people hate it. I know guys, I do. He does have touchdowns the last 2 days. However, anchor bias is going to show people just this range, right? Like weeks 2 through 10, where he really didn't do all that much and he disappointed the hell out of people. Island games are a different story. Seattle as a matchup is a different story. Tony Pollard still has the big playability. They're clearly deploying him and utilizing him differently this year than they did the last 2 years, where 60% of his runs were tackle to outside, and now 60% of his runs are guard and inside. They're just deploying him differently. It's not his bread and butter. He has done well enough with it and still is has the explosiveness as we've seen the last 2 weeks. There was a lot of pontification about, well, is he back from the injury he had last season? Does he miss Zeke? No, they're just deploying him differently, guys. He doesn't have burst anymore. Well, a 27-yard run and a 22-yard run for a touchdown definitely shows that he does. They're just not utilizing him the same way. The offense has changed. Kellen Moore is gone. Somebody else is there, and the coach is calling the plays. So, like, they're just doing things differently. Tony Pollard still somebody that we have to consider for captain. On the other side, I think there are 3 possible captain plays for us on Seattle. DK Metcalf, who since Geno took over has not had consistent access to the nuclear ceiling that he's had before. I prefer these guys way less than I prefer CeeDee Lamb, right around the same level that I prefer Dak, really, as my captain over my 150 at this point. DK can get behind anybody. The Cowboys are 9.5-point favorites in this game, which should mean more passing script, more dropbacks, possibility if they throw it 40, 45 times and Geno can maintain his 66% completion rate. That should mean more catches for DK Metcalf, but like it just hasn't materialized so far this year. Has as big of a ceiling as anybody else, still gets targeted in the end zone, top 10 in the league in that category. So there's touchdown upside here on one catch for him. If you're going to play DK Metcalf, we're definitely going to tie Geno Smith to that lineup, because if he has a monster day, even in chasing, even if the Cowboys cover and it's 35-25, but Geno completes 30 passes in this game, and 2-3 touchdowns, you're looking at a massive day for DK Metcalf. Same thing goes for Tyler Lockett. We've seen more of that nuclear-ish ceiling, right? 25 points here, 23 points here, 22 points here. The quarterback has held him back and DK Metcalf back with the performance that they've had. They have not scored a lot of touchdowns as an offense this year, but in a one-game scenario, anything can happen. Same rules for him. I don't think that JSN is playing enough snaps to be viable at captain, guys. I just don't. I don't see a 30-point game out of him with the current iteration that the Seahawks have this year. I definitely think he has that in his wheelhouse. It's definitely part of his game. I don't think that he can get there on the amount of snaps that he's playing, amount of routes that he's running, amount of targets that he's getting. It would be the anomaly of all anomalies for him to have a 3-touchdown game with 8 catches with the usage that he's got. So I'm not going to recommend JSN at captain. His price is certainly low enough that you could fit a bunch of other guys. Everybody else would have to go for like 20 points without being ridiculous, and you'd have to have an 18-20 point game to make that viable. So many things would have to happen. However, I do think that Zach Charbonnet, with the usage that he has, could be a viable captain that you don't have to correlate with anything else. So many dump downs possible, 6-7 catches possible in this game. He definitely has big playability. He can get in there for a touchdown both on the ground and through the air, playing 90+% of snaps in not so much of an anomaly situation, and 10K for him at the captain spot. Those are all the captains. Let's head over to Underdog Fantasy. This is something that I think is somewhat realistic for a triple hire to 100 to win $600. And if you don't have an account over at Underdog Fantasy, use code ALSMIZZLE. That's ALSMIZZLE, and you will get up to $100 deposit bonus on your first deposit to the site. You deposit 100, you make an account, you deposit 100, you use promo code ALSMIZZLE. They give you another $100 that you can use on these pick'ems if you want. I've got higher than 48.5 receiving yards for Tyler Lockett. And let's correlate Dak with CeeDee Lamb, over 279 and out. So we need over 280 and we need over 84 receiving yards. Fine. Boom, boom, boom. Let's think that this game goes the way that we plan for it to. We'll click and submit that. Very easy. And they could not detect my location. Okay. I'm still going to play this card. I'll do the location check later to reiterate that so we can get on with the video. But this is the pick'em that I'm going to play this. So looking at a couple of guys that I think are lower on the salary list, that are going to be less than, right? Less than 25%. Let's start with DJ Dallas. Now, I'm not going to play him in captain. These are primarily flex plays. So let's throw DJ Dallas in that group. Not playing a ton of snaps, like 10 snaps really. But every point matters. He's 1,200. He is shocked that they took this picture. Like, okay, DJ, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's not an intense look. That's not a smile. I don't know what we're doing here, DJ. But with the injury, like he was playing no snaps at all, and now with the change with Ken Walker out, now we have a situation where they have a Thursday game and a Thursday game, or this is a situation where he can get involved. They played on Thanksgiving. They're going to play the next Thursday game as well. It's a full week's rest. 90% snaps 2 weeks in a row for Zach Charbonnet. I think they could dial him back to like 80%, which would mean maybe 15 to 20 snaps for somebody like DJ Dallas, which if that happens at his price makes for a fantastic flex play, who should see more usage if they have to throw it as much as we project them to have to throw it. Colby Parkinson, I mentioned the possible injury to Will Dissly. He's running enough routes and has inside the 20, when they go jumbo package, inside the 10, inside the 20, goal to go situations, touchdown upside for 800 for him. Nobody is going to play Colby Parkinson. And on the Cowboys side, for 3,000, 20 to 30 snaps a game the last couple of games for Parkinson. On the Cowboys side, I'm going to dial up just a little bit. I know that Schoonmaker's got a couple of touchdowns. I'm not going to go with him. I am going to go with Kevontae Turpin. Fantastic kick returner. I'm sure that a lot of people want to play the Dallas Cowboys defense because of their propensity for scoring touchdowns. He has gotten enough usage in the passing game and gives you that double dip possibility to turn a defensive touchdown. So if you have the Cowboys defense in a lineup and you build a rule in your lineup builder, if Cowboys defense increase or boost Turpin by like 10%, if Turpin returns a kick for a touchdown or a punt for a touchdown, you get the 6 points for Turpin, and you also get the 6 points for your Dallas Cowboys slot. So you can double dip, right? When you play Turpin to go for maximum upside. And then the other play at 3,000, Jalen Tolbert. Somebody else, he's in a range where it's tough to play him. But 5 3 targets. He's certainly worked his way. Meritorious upgrade to him. He's been better than somebody like Gallup, where he's getting more run. He's falling in a range at 3,000 where it's tough to play him, but he has way more upside than a kicker. And I really like playing players in this range who are always under 25%. These $3,000 to $6,000 players are typically under that because they don't offer enough salary relief to get the extra stud. But he correlates well with Dak Prescott and everybody else. A talented receiver, so he would be the other player. I'm not saying you're going to play all four in one lineup, but these are the guys that we're looking for a little bit of salary relief. Let's head over to Fantasy Labs. And if you wanted a discounted subscription to Fantasy Labs, go to smizzle.tv/labs with an uppercase L. Case sensitive. It's somewhat important that you put that uppercase L. Here are the rules that I start with every single week. I'll edit these based on the game, based on what I feel, based on the story I'm trying to tell with the lineups. But as I walked you through, captain quarterback, make sure he's got two of his wide receiver or tight end or his kicker in every one of those captain QB lineups. Pair the captain QB with at least one of the skill position players from the other side. If you have a wide receiver or a tight end at captain, make sure that their quarterback is in that lineup and limit to at most one kicker or defense from the same game. If you wanted to expand it to two, you can very easily just expand it to two. I'm going to leave it to one for the purpose of this. And then I'm going to build this custom group where I force at least one player, running back, wide receiver. You can add tight end to this if you want, where projected ownership is less than 25%. Apply those settings, generate the lineups, and realize that you do not just click generate and print money. You have to work on your allocations, your combinations, your correlation. A bunch of times it is a time saver. It is an efficiency, a life hack for you to be able to get a bunch of lineups in all at once and to edit them and change them using the My Lineups page over on DraftKings. If you're not somebody who's going to pay the $2,000 to $3,000 to mass enter the big tournament, I'm suggesting that you try the mini max games to see if you're the next great mass multi-entry player. They have great projections and a lineup builder for NFL, college football, NBA, golf, NHL, all in full swing right now. The best bet for you is the 6-month package. If you play all of those different sports, that is the best bet. You get access to the lineup builder and projections for everything. So thank you guys for being here. Make sure you join the Discord. Do it. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.